Hello, everyone. Today, I want to talk about the 4 steps to living a miraculous life. Very exciting. Okay, so the 4 steps to living a miraculous life. The first one is to know yourself, to truly know yourself. The second one is understanding the human experience. The third one is going to be believing in love over fear, in oneness over separation. Hello, Divine Kika. It's so good to see you, Goddess. All right, and then the next one would be forgiving yourself and others. So these are going to be the 4 steps that I've used to really live a miraculous life. And so we're going to just go into them all a little bit, and then I'll invite you if you want to dive deeper, then we can do that as well. Okay, so first one, so know yourself. Yeah. So when I say know yourself, so knowing yourself, and not the human experience body, but really knowing yourself as one with the creator, as your most powerful, expansive self. So you are, I believe, and we talk about power of belief here, so that we are one with the creator, made in the same likeness, meaning image, or not image, because there's no physical image, but like likeness, meaning we have the same creative capabilities, we're extending in love, we are living in the eternal, always like the eternal now moment, like everything's happening in the now. So I believe that's really, really important, understanding who you truly are and where your power comes from, because you can harness that. And so we talk about like developing your intuition and developing these divine, like downloads, like just being open, being like an open channel, being an open vessel to receiving like the guidance, the next steps. And then also when we go into the human experience, so this is really like about the game of life and how to play it. So if you've heard of this book by Florence Scovel Shinn, it's called the Game of Life and How to Play It. And really it's living in a world of imagination, living in a world of thought. And so like as you think it, and if you know a lot of these metaphysical concepts, Neville Goddard talks about this a lot, but we're living in a world of imagination. So whatever you're thinking on a consistent basis, wherever your focus is, that's what's going to grow into your world. And so when we get into metaphysics, it's so fascinating, like talking about just the different universal laws, and that's like in the 3D world. So we're having this human experience, kind of like a matrix, but it's like when you're in this, like dreamlike state, you're just here to play the game of life, to learn the lessons, to just fully be self-realized and awaken, then you can just have fun with it. You don't have to be so serious. And that's when you have to, it really have to believe it, because if you don't believe it, then whatever you do believe is going to come to pass. If you believe the world's a bad place, that just only, hatred and anger and destruction, then that means you're siding with the ego, you're attaching to the ego of fear. But you can transcend that and you can live in spirit. Not that we're going to spiritual bypass and pretend that these things, if they bother you, like letting it bother you, if you feel like sadness, anger, fear, like letting yourself explore that, like you don't have to act on the anger, but feel it, just let yourself be human. And then you can, as you're feeling it, and you'll be like done with the feeling. You just get to feel it until something else comes along, and just being open to receiving. One of the things that the Course in Miracles says is we're far too tolerant of mind wandering. And I believe in this so much, because it's like you could just know your thoughts. Like, are you saying on a thought pattern of love, or are you saying on a thought pattern of like worst case scenario, like things you don't want to happen, things you don't want to be doing? Or are you staying in the thought pattern of like, okay, this is what's possible, this is what I do want, this is what I want to bring forth, this is how I want the relationships to go, this is how, just thinking with imagination of how you want it to be. So bringing the unseen to the seen. And then forgiving. So forgiving is so important, because are carrying so much guilt and blame and shame, like just around with us. And this is really part of the ego, but just forgiving yourself. And when you kind of realize the game of life, the understanding the human experience, it's all to just transcend into love and light. And so you can forgive because